I'd like to introduce Doug Savell. He's the Vice President of Omnichannel, and he's come to talk to us about data science. So I'll turn it over to him.
Great, I appreciate it. Thank you, JoEllen. Maybe what we could do is if folks could just mute yourselves for now. Okay. I'm going to take you through a little bit of a journey, a story, and we'll have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. If something urgent, if you have a very urgent question about something, please, you can pipe in. I do want to make it somewhat interactive if need be. And my aim here is to really kind of let you know what's going on in the real world. You guys have been studying, you've been learning about something that's actually very new in the world, and it's having an enormous impact on not only the company's growth and things like that, but the way that companies are operating and the way the world is operating. So you're really actually at the foundation level of what is really what we call digital transformation in the world. And, you know, I'm really excited to be here and inspire you on this journey, because there's a lot of opportunity out there, and that's what I'm here to sort of reveal. Okay. So I just wanted to begin by saying you're in an excellent place. Okay, right now, when I've spoken to JoEllen, not necessarily by name, but she speaks about you as her own, really. And what I got was that the group here is educated, they're smart, and they're very analytical. And what you need to know is that you're each writing your very own story, you know, beginning either yesterday or at least be inspired to begin now and move forward. Today, all companies and even, you know, I would say governments, right, are starting to look at the world customer-centric, user-centric, citizen-centric. And what that's creating is an opportunity to understand the journey that these people are on. It's creating an opportunity to fix the journeys that are broken. And I think we all can agree, the world doesn't operate exactly how we always wish and want it to be. And there's a lot of broken experiences, right? And especially when it comes to companies, they're very interested in influencing the customer, but not in a way that's like creepy, right? It's just more of, they want to understand a delightful, secure, in a very interesting journey. And they want to orchestrate it, not only in the digital world, but also across omni-channel. You know, we have an enormous shift, especially with COVID, from, you know, where we always used to go to stores to buy things, to now most purchases are being made online, right? And because of that, you know, data is beginning to drive the decision making. We all know about, you know, Amazon, for example, and how excellent they do about understanding who you are and what your preferences are, or Netflix, right? And that data is allowing them to drive decisions that you could make, right? And oftentimes they're delightful decisions. I like when Netflix suggests a movie I wouldn't have thought of. That's in the category of movies that I like to see, or products by Amazon, right? But you need to know this, okay? And this is very, very important. And this is more on the personal side, okay? That automation, okay, and machine learning does pose a risk, okay, to analytics specific work. A lot of things that, a lot of tools, a lot of things that are coming out are automating the calculations, the statistic analysis of the data, okay? But again, you know, these algorithms and these data models, they still require interpretation by folks like yourself. They need to understand how dots are connected, and they need to understand not only how the data is connected, but how it's driving value on a business level, right? And the whole idea on a business, okay, businesses, every one of them, if you look at any, what they call 10Ks, which are annual summary reports of businesses, and I highly recommend for any businesses that you like, read these things and read about the risks inside those reports and read about some of the things that they're doing. But what you'll see is that they focus around increasing revenue, which digital is a huge opportunity, decreasing cost, which, let me give you a quick story. Okay, if I actually deposit a check on my phone, it costs the bank 10 cents to process that. But if it doesn't work and I have to call their call center, all of a sudden that 10 cents became $10. That's 100% more cost. Okay, and if for some reason the call center can't help me and I need to go into the branch, those banks, they pay a lot of money, okay, to have employees, to give them benefits and so on and so forth. And because of that, it would cost them $50 to handle that check deposit. So you can see that decreasing cost means keeping people in the digital world, and ensuring they do that is understanding the science of data behind why things work and why things may not be working. Now, especially in the world of privacy today, where, maybe not the younger generation so much, but the older generation is very concerned about their data and what people are doing with it, right? And there's an enormous amount of work in each company out there to mitigate the risk and compliance of transactions. And if they're happening in the digital world, there's a lot of room for hackers and things like that. So they need to have controls in place, and they need to have people who can interpret what may or may not be happening on a site that could, say, for example, lead to fraud. Fraud is an enormous use case throughout the digital world and the data science world in particular. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Okay. What I wanted to get to is storytelling. Okay. And I'm trying to tell a story here today because I need to get you guys to understand that no matter what you do out in the real world, the results, the outcomes, the ability to dumb it down for people who may not be as smart, right, is a critical factor in determining your success. Okay, so it's being able to interpret the data in a way, tell a story, tell an analogy of what may, unite somebody more experientially and individually with what you find. So what that means is, it can be as, interesting and creative aspects of a story, but can also just be the inflection of your voice. So if something is important, you stress. If something is obvious, you kind of just skip by. Right? And through these things, you develop an expert confidence, right? And be able to deliver something without saying, and looking at the slides and having the slides tell the story. You want a delightful engagement, whether it's me engaging with you, whether it's JoEllen engaging with you on a student to professor level, whether it's you out in the real world telling your boss why you were being successful and why you were doing the things you do. You want it to be delightful, okay? So I wanted you guys to meet the customers out there. I love this slide, by the way. Microsoft did a study. I think to this point, it may not be so accurate, but in the digital age, I think you'll find this interesting, that goldfish actually have a higher attention span than we do, thanks to the digital lifestyle. Okay. And I think what you're also seeing out there is that the mobile customer experience is a big priority. Okay. And what I mean by that is the majority of people will actually not recommend a business when they come across a poorly designed mobile website. Okay. And actually, half the people will even stop visiting the site if they don't like the brand. And that's the last thing companies want. Okay. And 84% of companies who are claiming to be customer centric are focusing in mobile. But here's the reality: 90% of customers and users who report having a poor experience when seeking support on mobile devices. That is astronomical. But again, for folks like you, it is an enormous opportunity of connecting dots. Why? Why are they having this such poor customer experience? And why are we so blind in the mobile world and developing mobile applications and the data coming from that mobile application to really drive a good customer experience, right? And to kind of churn the knife a little bit further, customer frustration, okay, it's killing brands. Okay, so when I say that, yeah, a lot of people are going to share positive experiences that they've had. Okay, but look at the staggering amount of people that will share their experience if they're unhappy. Okay, when you are unhappy with something, you complain and you tell everybody because you want them to feel the pain and you want them to understand, right? And by the way, 90% of people will kind of delete the app if they have like more than one, two bad experiences, right? Or they'll stop even visiting a brand if, for example, they had a poor experience at the store, right? All of these experiences are creating data, transactional data, historical data about the customer. When they go to digital sites and digital apps, it's clicks, swipes, taps. Where are they looking? What are they looking for? Now, it's not Big Brother. You need to understand there are very strict privacy rules globally and in the United States and locally that prevent people from getting your personal identifiable information. There are specific encryptions and, Amazon and Microsoft and Google, they have great security procedures in place for cloud applications. So, when it comes to the privacy of things, okay, it really is not, people are not out to control like Big Brother. They're out to create delightful experiences for people who are like you. Okay, I want to go back to customer service for a moment. I don't know if you guys know who Gartner Group is, but if you don't, you should definitely get to know them. And Forrester is another one. These are industry-wide companies that cover the entire industries of different segments, including ours, including, for example, self-service and customer service. And they give very objective views as to, what the good vendors are and so on and so forth in that space. You can really learn about good companies by reading a Gartner report. So what they're saying here is by 2030, okay, 1 billion service tickets are going to be raised automatically by customer-owned bots. Okay, and to handle this, customers are turning to AI. Okay, now I want to introduce you here to the platforms, the tools that are used inside companies today to understand, to gain analytics, to capture the data that you need to do statistical analysis, to interpret the data, to create insightful, productive outcomes from what you see. Okay, now on the left-hand side is what we call behavior data. And there are tools like Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, and many, many different people coming out of school. They find themselves in a digital analyst position. Okay, and that analysis, okay, can come from tools like this, which are using tags to collect data and send it to a place that you can understand. They create visualizations to help very specific areas of the business understand the business better. So for example, Adobe or Google, you can create segments of people. I would like to understand how the traffic of college kids or people that are 24 to 32 are interacting with my brand. They use these types of tools to understand these things, and they collect the data. Okay, on the right-hand side, what you see is we call more technical data. It's server-side data. It's monitoring the infrastructure. So for example, if I go to your site, it might not be that, the button was the wrong button to push. It might be that I pushed it and it took, 3 minutes for it to engage with me. And so that performance of how a server and how things are operating on your site is very important to IT people. What there's a problem in is that there's all these tools and people don't speak, right? And so I'm gonna take you back a little bit to probably somebody you don't know, but JoEllen would, which is which is a tennis player by the name of John McEnroe. So back in the 80s, John McEnroe was like the best tennis. He was like the Roger Federer, back in the 80s. And he used to yell at the refs every single round. Hey, that ball was in. Hey, I don't know, I'm challenging that call. And because of this person was the birth of what we call instant replay. So now all of sports uses instant replay to show what really happened, right? And it's funny that, I bring him up because, he was really an excellent player and won a lot of championships and, no harm, no foul, but, session replay and understanding in a movie type sense what's happening is critical now to what's happening inside companies. They're embedding this replay type ability in each one of these analytics tools on both sides so that everybody can see what really happened, right? They're also taking all that data and automatically creating journey maps. And data science folks are critical in that aspect, okay? Because once you have a map of the data and what's happening, it's really up to you guys to really connect the dots and figure out what are great outcomes that can happen once I have all this data. What would be a great business outcome? So it's one thing about tying it together, but again, automation is really helping bring that along. It's once it's tied together, how is it affecting people? How is it affecting business, users, citizens? Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear about what's involved in data right now in real time for seeing, how people are doing what they're doing. Okay, and I thought this was an interesting statistic. Okay, did you know that when I log into, I don't know, let's say an airline here, and I book a flight and I leave, probably takes me, I don't know, a minute or two. Sometimes I do it through Expedia, right? 951 individual technical data events are occurring along that one single journey. It is so massive, the amount of data that is available today to understand, to make sense of, that folks like yourself are in enormous demand. I think our company is hiring data scientists, whether it's small companies, big companies, startup companies. Data science is the new key. It's the new, what they call the new oil. It's the thing that will run the economies of the future. And by you being in a key position at a ground floor in an economy that is just started, my hat's off to you. I'm actually very jealous and envious. So moving into the data aspect, I wanted to kind of just share what that actually means in the way of collecting data. Because today, a lot of IT work is done on figuring out what data in all these 1,000 events do we need to collect to make sense of it. So those Adobe tools, Google tools that I was saying, they can do things like automatic page tagging. And what that means is they can actually automatically say, grab every single page and automatically give you a conversion rate of who went to this page and then didn't make it to the next page. Okay, but all those little events underneath that are happening, the AJAX calls going back and forth, the API calls to different systems that they may need to hook into. Okay, all of those events are not being collected. So there's not a lot of things. You can't understand necessarily why people are leaving. Okay, there are other tools out there like those APM tools, for example, that can tag specific events automatically. So I want to see all the crashes that are happening. I want to see all the error 404s, the 500 errors are very difficult, but I want to see all of these specific things, and they catch some of this stuff, but there's a lot missing, right? Now, I happen to work for what we call the Ferrari in the space, and I'm part of what we call the Digital Analytics Association, which is where JoEllen and I met. The Digital Analytics Association, fantastic organization, very reputable, a lot of really important people are there, and you can get advice from them. You can interact with them. They love speaking to students. When you get to a certain level of what a lot of these people have done, their real goal now is to share and to help, right? Much like JoEllen, right? To help people grow and become, what they've become, right? So I work for, the Ferrari in space. It's called Glassbox Digital. We are a DAA member. And what we do that's special, our special sauce, and why we're in the biggest companies in the world, like Expedia, for example, is we do autonomous event tagging. We actually tag all the data digitally so that we can pipe it into a data lake where folks like yourself can then do interesting things that we're going to start getting into the use cases. Why are people using this data? I'm going to give you some ideas. I'm going to show you what companies are really after, the priority, what each grouping in a company. See, if you're interested in different areas, if you're interested in IT, there's data. If you're interested in sales, there's data-driven things. If you're interested in marketing, product ownership, compliance, fraud, there is tons and tons of opportunity, and you guys should be really excited. And I hope that I'm inspiring you today to really embrace what you're going through and the sacrifice that you're putting in, to know that on the other side is really a real good opportunity for success. Okay. So again, with autonomous event tagging, you can actually understand all the things behind conversions, abandonments, and things like that. So it doesn't really need IT. It needs people to interpret the data. Okay. And that's folks like yourself. Okay. This is actually an example of what having all the data could look like, right? Is a journey map. It can be created in real time. And down below here, you can actually segment it by different browsers, countries, devices. So there's a lot of insight that you can grab instantly, right? And you don't want to be on the force of trying to be the one collecting data for this, when tools are out there that automatically do it for you. Okay. Oh, excuse me. So when you do deal with data, what we have seen in the enterprise, okay, and in this enterprise could be a corporation, it could be a government agency, okay, but the first thing that they want to do when it comes to digital and the data is they need to understand and solve problems that are preventing people from moving forward. So a crash, right, or a complete drop off. People need to understand why. Okay. And so they call upon digital analysts. Okay. And then once they start figuring out the IT reasons as to why, then you can focus on the experience, right? You need to understand not just, okay, the performance affected it, but what were the journeys they were taking? What were they looking at on the screen? What did they care about? What did they spend the most time on? Did they scroll down? Right? As a product owner of these digital properties, what promotion didn't get seen because it was put in the wrong place? We had I'll give you a quick story. We had a gal at a cruise company create this amazing promotion of upgrading to first class, 0% conversion. Well, they'd only tested it in the Android environment, but the release went out on iOS. Well, when the iOS phone picked it up, the promotion wasn't visible to anyone. She almost cried when we saw it on the replay. But we said, listen, we know why now. We can move it, and now you can see conversion. And by the way, it was one of the most successful campaigns that they ran. She became really a hero, right? Doing things with data, okay, has transformed people's careers. We took a person at Bank of America who was an IT person, who is now the CTO, okay, of one of their units, because of the transformation he was able to enact through data analysis, through seeing why people did certain things, right? So to understand the power of data, it's almost mind-boggling, some of the use cases and the things that are available. We fixed errors, for example, 500 errors are errors where the server wasn't found. Well, people didn't realize how much revenue that was costing a specific clothing company. Okay, that same clothing company, for example, had a mobile app, and I went to buy a sweater, and every time I tried to buy the red sweater, the picture of the brown one came up. So I never bought the sweater. Well, guess what? $70 per sweater, 10,000 sweaters per month is the expected churn, I'm sorry, the expected conversion. That's $700,000 per month that this company was losing because they had the picture of the sweater in the wrong place. Okay, so again, data drives how these decisions are made, right? And then it even moves out further. Okay, fraud, like I said, is incredibly important. You know, companies like AT&T, they lose $1 billion a year because of fraudulent things going on. Okay, and the data science, you know, I can't speak enough about all of the different use cases that data science can provide, but the connecting of all this data is critical, right? The interpretation of it. And again, storytelling behind it, right? Now, call center. The call center is not something that companies lose money on call centers. They have to pay people to support other people. They're not making money in the call center until digital came around. Why? Because they can understand when right away a lot of people are suffering from something and immediately engage other people to look at it and react and create what we call next best actions. Okay, remember that those three words, next best actions, because in data science nothing is going to be more important in the next 5 years, okay, than creating next best action. When I am on your site, when I am surfing around, they want to connect all of the Doug dots that they have instantly, so that if I click two specific things, an immediate next best action is given to me. It's creative, it's marketing oriented, it's sexy, right? This is what's happening in data, and this is what people are getting excited about, right? And there's all sorts of other things. You know, if you're interested in more of a policing type of or governance type of role over data, if you like to be the master of the data, compliance officers are very, very important. They are understanding the algorithms that are behind different things that are being put in place for automation throughout their organization. And folks like you will be qualified. I'm not sure exactly which certifications JoEllen can get into that with you, but to become folks like compliance officers who are governing the data, governing the experience, and ensuring that folks are in compliance and that no rules according to law are being broken. Okay, a lot of room for all of you. Okay. I want to pause here for a moment, take a sip of water. And I want you to look at this for a minute, okay? Because I've done this particular slide for the CEOs of very large banks, for telecommunication companies, travel companies, hospitality companies, okay? And retail companies, okay? What all folks, okay, and this is really where you're going to come in, okay, are looking for is how do all these dots get connected, and what are all these dots, and what are we trying to prove? What journeys are we trying to affect, right? And what is the actual value that doing what we do is going to create? Okay, so this slide tries to tell that story, and over the next few other slides, I will go a little bit deeper, okay? But on the left-hand side, what you're seeing, okay, is all of the systems that are continuously ingesting those 951 events happening in every single journey, right? And it's not just the digital sites, not the websites or the mobile apps. There's chat now. There's notifications coming from fraud systems. There's call center data. When I call in, that call, if it's being recorded, it's probably being analyzed for cues on how to improve that experience. NPS, okay, is actually focused in marketing on how is our score, on how people are looking and rating us. Okay, how are we in comparison to our competitors, right? Are we being rated very highly in a good digital experience? Or are we, being on the lower tier where there's work to do, right? And by the way, there's always work to do, okay? Especially in the marketing. So marketing collects all sorts of data, surveys. They have historical data based on, for example, transactions that you've done, right? There's email campaigns that go out. They have their own, what they call CRM, customer databases that are collecting data, right? We with a big bank, I think it was 32 different data sources, right? They had social media data and everything, but they're all trying to capture it in real time, right? And architect, okay, use data science to bring it together, to look at the journeys that are in the middle here that not only happen in digital, but also happen, you know, in the retail, like in going to the store, right? Or making a phone call. That has become its own journey, right? There used to be a time where you would call up and you would say, you know, operator, and then it would like route you to another person that actually was another machine, and it was like 8 minutes before you ever got to talk to somebody. All right, people would just go mad about the experience. In fact, they still do. If you back a few slides, 90% of people are still unhappy about that experience happening on the support, right? But on the very right here, okay, this is the business value. These are the stories that we need to tell constantly throughout the day in an organization, okay? And it starts at the top, right? Once you resolve those IT issues, okay, which really, by the way, IT DevOps, I think it was a Forbes article in the summer that said 80% of the work being done in IT is figuring out what are the most important problems happening, what are the crashes and errors that are causing the most amount of impact on the business. 80% of their time is being spent doing that. Okay, now tools are being put in place to automate that. And because of that, they're able to focus on the experience, the design of the UI, the way people are interacting with their application better, and create journeys that involve more self-service. Like I said, if you keep them in digital, it's much less expensive. So if I'm focused on creating more functionality, the ability to purchase on a site where it wasn't before, right? The ability to have them be in self-service on the site where it wasn't possible before, and improving all of those different options. How many times you've gone to a support site, they don't have what you need, right? So you end up calling. Okay, so the idea is better self-containment there. And because of that, it will decrease cost. And when you're decreasing costs, you then start focusing on improving different metrics, like those metrics around the call center, which is CSAT, customer satisfaction, and then the NPS score, or net promoter score in marketing, which really deals with customer engagement. And when you do that, you reduce calls. And when you have less call reductions, you have more opportunity to see, hey, can we upgrade this customer? Are there opportunities here? Right? And that's sales optimization. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into each of these functions. Okay. And I apologize for droning on, and I do want to get to some Q&A here. So I'm going to go through this quickly. Okay. These are the different areas of the company that are using the data. Okay. And in customer service, what they're trying to do is prevent people from going, you know, to the store, right? Reducing the amount of time they're on the calls, okay? Reducing the amount of overall cost and discovering those sales opportunities. And they do that by understanding errors, by looking at the digital journey, by setting alerts, creating funnels, and improving that digital self-service. And in marketing, okay, they're using data to understand like what people are doing on my digital properties, for example, or you know, in my stores. They have these things of, you'll see these, you know, happy, sad faces all over the place, right? These are what we call voice of the customer, VOC tools. They're collecting information, right? And now that you have the replay, if somebody's leaving a comment that said, this was horrible, well, now you know why. Were they having a bad day, or did they actually have a bad experience? Okay? And then, you know, they could improving the digital channel, and improving the digital channel creates this ability to what we call the omni-channel. That's multi-channel. That's being able to cross boundaries within the store. There's very good retail stores you'll start reading about that are integrating that digital experience with their online, with their in-store experience. Okay, and as far as the product, right, understanding what's going on in real time, where are people struggling? right? And specific people and what they care about, those users, right? Are they getting the story they need in real time? Are they seeing where there are opportunities or challenges, right? And as far as sales, okay, again, increasing that adoption inside digital, knowing what good products are going to be effective for me to buy, putting, not female socks in front of me, but putting, male t-shirts, right? Immediately segmenting different users that may have been affected by something and retargeting them. That's a very important next best action use case that's created out of data science. Okay. I'll make, by the way, this presentation available. I do want to leave some time for Q&A. I know we have 7-8 minutes left, so I'll just get through these last couple of slides in terms of BI and data analytics, which is where you might find yourself first. Okay, they want to understand how to combine data points to create a struggle score. So there's all these events and all these dimensions that are being captured, but how do we really make sense of it? And people like yourself are really learning how these pieces fit together. Okay, and it's really impressive to see some of the work that we are seeing happen inside some of these companies. And last but not least, executives, right? So all these, people that you see in the suits and the beautiful dresses and such that are speaking to the public, they need to prioritize, they need the answers quick, they need the stories quick, and they need it visualized quick so they understand it. So as interpreters, that's exactly where you guys will find your your biggest opportunities. So listen, I wanted to say thank you to JoEllen, and I wanted to open it up for any questions and see if I could help you guys out.
Does anyone have any questions? Any thoughts?
You're shell shocked, shock and awe.
The class is finite math and business statistics, so they're at the beginning of their journey, and I'm trying to see if they will consider data science. So they might be a little shy at this point, but I'm hoping I'm really pleased with the presentation. It hit a lot of points, and I'm very happy about it.
Yes,
Let me
very
also
interesting.
say, oh, thank you, Maria. Let me make myself available to all you guys. Please link in with me. It's dsuval@gmail.com if they need an email address. But I really am interested in what your generation really is focused on, listening to, hearing. I have children myself that will become your age, the next 5 to 10 years. So love interacting, love helping people. So please consider me an asset and link in with me.
It's dsaval
at gmail.com. And I'll put it right now into the chat.
Yeah, okay.
And by the way, this has been recorded, so we'll make this available to you as well. And let me put that in the chat right now. And that's if they're looking. I mean, you can always just send me an email and I'll accept, because I'm what they call a lion, LinkedIn open. But I'm really here looking to help people out. So if you need help, if references, things like that, please feel free to set time.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question for Professor JoEllen Green.
Okay.
Yeah. You mentioned something about Fresno City College offering a
data science. Yes.
program next semester or
no, it'll start fall,
Mhm.
but there are courses within that within the curriculum that will be offered next semester. So you can get with me and I can tell you what they are. And are you interested?
I'm somewhat interested. It was a lot of information to kind of digest and kind of to me personally, I think it was more. I guess he didn't really have that much time, so he made it more general. And so to sit down and understand the step by step, it just you either like it or you don't. So I just want to know more about the Fresno City program, and also, do you know if Fresno State offers it? Because I'll be going to Fresno State.
Well, I know they offer a few classes. I don't know if they offer a certificate or not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, this is Manuel. I'll turn my camera on. You can see.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked the presentation. It was really broad, and I'm IT, and I also work in the medical field. So a lot of this is the statistics and studies are extremely helpful for the stuff that I've seen. So I really appreciate going through this.
All right, thank you.
I can actually tell you, Manuel, that one of the #1 growth industries in the digital transformation area is healthcare, right? And
Yeah.
they need guys like you. They need IT guys. They need guys to interpret what's going on because it's broken right now.
Yeah, there are a lot of numbers that I see, and that can be extremely helpful for going after certain demographics, case studies, and to reaching out to patients that need assistance, that don't know how to get assistance. So this is extremely helpful.
Okay, that's great. Anyone else? Okay. But what you told them is really good for data science, but it's also very good for business, and all of them are business majors in one fashion or another.
Very good. I mean, we tried to keep it broad so that we could touch on as many subjects and areas of business that there is. This was really fantastic. I really appreciate the opportunity. I mean, I love to speak with people, so and share this type of magic, right? So my shirt, right? Science.
Science. Like
Like
magic, but real.
Real.
Okay.
All right. And on that, I will thank you all. And JoEllen will be in touch, okay?
Okay, and I want to thank you because this was fantastic.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I've gotten everybody's name, so I will go ahead and log off. Thank you very much again. We'll be in contact.